Hey, well, tonight I'm angry about sex. And the reason I'm angry about sex is I don't even know what this word means anymore. Do any of us know what the word sex means, what the word gender means, what the word gender identity means? Things have gone completely haywire. And on Monday, the Arkansas State Senate voted 28-7 to approve a measure they're calling the Save Adolescents from Experimentation Act, SAFE, a measure that would prevent gender transition procedures for trans people under the age of 18. Now, let me start by saying that I have absolutely no problem with men who desire to dress as women and have sex with men, men who desire to dress as men and have sex with men, women who desire to dress as men and have sex with women, women who desire to dress as women and have sex with women, or any combination of the above. My problem is when any group seeks special rules for them. Now, it may seem reasonable that transgender people be protected from hate crimes, and I certainly agree that they do seem to be vulnerable to acts of violence against them. But that does not change the fact that society cannot change to accommodate them. Let's talk specifically about men who identify as women and then begin competing against women in women's sport. Now, these men may very well be taking hormone blockers, they may be taking testosterone blockers, taking estrogen. I'm not an expert on which hormones are deployed, but the problem that I have is that this Arkansas bill, this SAFE Act, is being described as transphobic. One doesn't have to be transphobic to believe that children should not be allowed to make life-altering decisions while children. I mean, we protect children from entering into legal contracts. As a matter of fact, a child is not able to enter into a legal contract, or if they are, they're able to get out of it because they are not of legal age. And yet there's an uproar over the fact that children under the age of 18 are being stopped from attempting to change their gender, whether it's taking puberty blockers that stop the normal onset of puberty for a man or a woman, whether it's actual hormonal treatment to try to change the physical characteristics of the individual. The fact remains that men who transition to women are not women, and women who transition to men are not men. I have no problem with them living their lives as men or women. I have no problem with crimes against them because of their gender identity being considered hate crimes. My issue is the fact that your biological birth, your gender at birth, is who you are. Let me give you an example. This fellow's name is Freddie McConnell. Freddie McConnell is an English person. They were a female. They became a male. This person, Freddie McConnell, was born in 1986, and when he was 26, he started taking testosterone to become a man. He certainly does appear as a man in the picture I'm showing you. In 2013, a year after testosterone, he had his breasts removed. But in 2016, he stopped the testosterone and started menstruating again. Subsequently, a sperm donor made him/her pregnant, and Freddie delivered a child. Now, you may think that this is a happy story all the way around, but 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, Freddie was very upset because a court in London ruled that even though he had a vagina and had given birth to the child with the sperm donor's help, Freddie's effort to be listed as the father on the birth certificate was denied. Very few people have an issue with trans people living a trans life. There have always been cross-dressers. The problem I have is that, number one, a child should not be able to make decisions of this type. There are no other decisions of this type that a child is allowed to make. They aren't allowed to form any binding contract whatsoever, and yet groups are suing to allow children, and I repeat, children not of legal age, to be allowed to have life-altering surgery. It seems ridiculous. Whatever you do as an adult is up to you. But the fact is that children should be protected from their impulses, especially prior to the age of consent. It's called consent for a reason. How is it that a girl is unable to consent to having sex before the age of 18, yet is able to consent to having her entire femininity removed by taking testosterone, for example? Biological males who are who are transitioning or have transitioned to female are literally crushing the opposition on the athletic field. This may be painful for the girls in a physical sense, but the lifelong effects are even more painful because all of these scholarships that are designed for girls are going to men who have transitioned to women. Not only that, but this Freddie McConnell story seems to illustrate a very disquieting fact. Here is a woman who became a man, then transitioned back to being a woman in order to have a child, and then sued the courts because she could not be listed as the father on the birth certificate. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you provide the eggs and I provide the sperm, you are the mother and I am the father. And the fact that the English language is no longer sufficient to describe the relationship that might exist between us, that might exist between a mother and father, is beyond outrageous. If you have a uterus, if you can give birth to a child, you are a woman. The fact that Freddie McConnell wants to be a man and a woman, depending upon which circumstance suits him best, just illustrates the hypocrisy in this issue. Please, we need to protect the girls. We need to protect the women. Women are the weaker, fairer sex, and men who choose to compete against them are not deserving of any victorious celebration. They have won unfairly. This trans issue is one that our society is having a great deal of difficulty getting our hands around. But when you see examples of people transitioning back and forth at will, when you see examples of women who used to be men crushing their opponents in mixed martial arts, crushing their opponents at rugby or track, you realize how far down this road we've come. And we are so far down this road that there is now a fight as to whether children, literally children under the age of consent, should have the right to make this kind of life-changing decision. They should not be allowed to make this decision, period. The physical characteristics that define a man are very different from those that define a woman. We are not the same. Women are not the same as men, and men are not the same as women. There are going to be individuals who identify as a different group to their biological sex. There always have been. But the fact that society is now being twisted inside out to accommodate them shows the glaring fault in our attempt to be inclusive. This is one of the things that can destroy society. I want to protect our women and our girls. I also don't want to see transsexual men or women abused, but when they ask for special treatment, they are the ones abusing us. Please, let's look at this issue like adults. Stop the name calling and grow up.